Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dublin Tech Talks, the new normal in association with Icon Accounting. Today, we have Stephen Gillen on the show. Stephen is CEO of SSE Media Group, business and life coach, investor, philanthropist, and International Peace Prize nominee, and the author of The Monkey Puzzle Tree, Story of Your Life. I got to read about you, Stephen, in the Sunday World a couple of weeks ago and reached out to you for a chat. So thanks a mil for coming back to me. You've done a lot. You're a self-made entrepreneur, CEO of your own business now. Where did it all come from, and how did you get to where you are now?
Well, thanks for having me. First thing, Gavin, is the first thing. And I come from a very hard background back home, like everyone else. It was a lovely place to grow up. I grew up in the north. There was all the civil problems then, in the early days of the early 70s. So I grew up in that environment. Then I come to England, and I went through a lot of stuff. I got involved in a lot of stuff in the East End. I ended up in prison, unfortunately, for a long time. But I managed to turn my life around, and I really, I had good people around me, and I started. I started in the construction industry, really. My family, they was very good in the groundwork industry. So we worked our way through that. We managed to get a contract with the local authority. That was a start for us, of something. When we worked morning, noon, and night at that, it was very, very tough work in all weathers. But I wanted more, I wanted to go on. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to do other things. So I went on. I created my own business. The first one was a refurbishment business. I went inside with that, refurbishment, finishing, all that stuff. And then I went on. I had an IT company, and I met other people in film, and I started writing documentaries on the world's most successful business empires, which are still there now. That was a real journey for me. I'd done a business degree, along the way there as well with that. I progressed with that. I loved it. There was the real up and downs that we have when we're forging ourselves as human beings, as much as we're forging our businesses is really important. And I just went on, and I really got the wind in my sails, and I excelled at different stuff. I learned business, and what we learned to do through the inception and the development of the IT media company at become in the end was we integrated a lot of PR. When we learned about profile development, we become very good at marketing. So we ended up really at our core, what we are today is we're business engineers who actually build and engineer and create global and national personal and business brands. We do absolutely everything, and bolt on all the needed stuff for that. And it's very, very bespoke. But I'm also a very, very successful business and life coach. So this is very congruent. All this stuff together, Gavin.
Yeah, so like more than ever, businesses are probably looking at what they are and who they are, and that kind of business journey they've been on for maybe the last 5-10 years longer isn't the same journey that they probably looked at now if they were to have a in January when they did their business plan up for 2020. That's blown out the window. So from your experience, what should businesses be looking at now for 2021, 2022? How can they be better, and what would you look at a business and go, okay, these are the fundamentals that you would see?
This is a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because this is very, very pivotal. One thing I will say is, we're dealing with a lot of clients now, a lot of companies, and we need to reinvent them and their brands, restructure their businesses and reposition them in the market so they can integrate integrate in a way that is kind of ahead of itself in a way, because what we've kind of got here is, look, if people fall for the classic mistake of assuming that because maybe what they prospered at before is going to work for them again, Gavin, it's really not. I mean, this is apparent. Just the mindset of the world alone is a real red flag here. The other thing, of course, is the money markets. I mean, without going into the technical parts of it, all the money that has been lost and has been moved here has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a big hole. Eventually, it has to go somewhere. So although there's going to be spikes, and that may seem like there's good times, there is going to be a downturn as well until this balances itself out. So what we're looking at for our businesses and our brands is certainly that they need evergreen systems, i.e. online systems that can withstand kind of attacks of attrition like this, or even being completely locked down, so they can still trade, they can still engage with their clients, and they can still give a quality service.
And do you find that businesses you go into or businesses you've talked with are still pretty reluctant to, look at that as a new as the new normal, or as over the last 6-12 months, has there been an appetite for change, or what way have you seen it?
I've seen it in two camps. And it's nothing I haven't seen before. And what you basically have is you have real go-getters who are innovators, who are so far along the beaten paths. Their mindset and what they do is they are innovators. So they solve problems and they will find ways. So anything that kind of hits them, it may kind of push them for a while, but they always get back on the horse. So there's these kind of people who will always revert to type and do what they do. These are the people who are always trying to see more, are always trying to be ahead of the game, are always willing to put the time, money, investment in. In a sense, they're warriors. But, that is going to work for them in a way. But then you have the other camp who, are like a rabbit in the headlights. They're the wait people. Oh, I have to wait. Oh my God, I don't have enough information. I'm not sure. All the uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to sit on everything. I'm going to sit in my hands. I'm going to wait until it pans out a bit. This is not a good idea. I must be honest. Waiting for anything like that in business is a real killer. You need to, in life, you need to pick yourself up and dust yourself off, and you need to be going forward in the right direction. This is what I would definitely say.
Yeah, businesses refusing to innovate. Their brands aren't around too much at the moment. So even in the service industry, you can see that fundamentally has to change. If restrictions are going to stay in, the fundamental, how we go and get our coffees, or simple restaurants, how normal is going to look like in that, even to schooling. I know you're in the UK, and the back to school protocols, like the classes aren't big enough and different things like that. So every part of society has to look at changing. Who would you mentioned mindset there, and a lot of people talk around mindset. Is there a certain way of being able to change your mindset? If you have a fixed mindset and you're looking to, as a coach, and you're trying to get people to be more open and kind of into a growth mindset, what would you look at a person, or how that person would be set up to be able to change if there's people looking at this simple tasks?
It's putting yourself into progressive, uncomfortable positions consistently is a good thing. This is where growth is. You see, a lot of people, one thing about a coach, one of the reasons I was so successful, Gavin, and good at it, really, was I've really been to deep, dark places that other people haven't. And I mean, it's obvious you can only take people as far as you've experienced to go yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. So, unfortunately, but of course, now in a positive way, I have really had to surmount and overcome unbelievable adversity. Now, this starts and finishes finishes with us. Business is solving problems. It really is. It's finding ways. Flexibility is absolutely key. And I mean, for me, what I've always learned is when we're in business, a part of success is that we have the right answers quickly, or if we make an error or a decision that can be improved upon, that we have enough humility and aptitude to be able to see the facts of why that wasn't working for us, and then be able to action the right answers again quickly. The best way I can say it is, look, we train entrepreneurs. This is valuable. And I've been around many CEOs. I mean, unbelievably successful people. Many old school directors from corporate companies. I've been there many years. But there's one thing that we will all agree on, as a collective, and that is that it wasn't necessarily the clever business innovations or trainings or anything like that necessarily moved us forward, although that is important, but rather it was the internal breakthroughs as a human being that really pushed us forward. Now this is key, because there is a balance here, but it is about, I find this on the boards of the companies that I'm on as well. It really is about the person, because when we think we're listening, we really realize we need to listen more, Gavid, right? Really. When we think we're decisive in the right ways, we realize, well, we're not really what we think we are, and we can improve on that. When we think we're humble and not, then we realize we have a long way to go in humility. So, for me now, where I am, this is where the fast growth is. It's not, the learning goes on regardless, the clever learning of how to do things better and different CRM systems and what's the latest, whatever, right? But really, the answers, all the big answers are inside, and it's how we respond to the world, people, places, and things. I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, you mentioned something there around listening. I always find that quite funny, because it's the hardest thing to do, especially in a fast-paced world we try and live in. It's everybody's trying to answer the thing you said 30 seconds ago before they actually listen to what you've said. And it's one of the things, I did an IMI, which is a course here in leadership, and it was one of the things that they mentioned in the course is we don't listen. We're answering before we listen. And when you mentioned it there, I just chuckled to myself, because it was the one thing I tried to do more of, and you can see the benefits straight away. It's always good to listen, they say, but we're just programmed to answer rather than listen to what people are saying. Anyway, moving on from my rant there.
Very important, though, Gavin. This is very important. Everyone jumps to really clever stuff, and that's cool. There's lots of room for the clever stuff, but we go so far sometimes that some of the fundamentals, as we was talking about, are really simple stuff like that, at really gauging what we're doing and where we're at, how our thinking processes are working like that, and are we listening rather than just hearing, and and stuff like that. This stuff is very key.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing I was from when we talked first to now, you've had many different ups and downs in your career, and you've prospered, you've failed, and you've moved on. What way have you worked on it to, it's probably more apparent than ever, there is going to be failures, and people will feel bad about themselves because things they were doing might be working, revenue might be coming in. Is there a certain thing we should be doing to accept the failure and move on and do something different?
There's many things, yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to the person. Really, what do you have in you? This is the narrowest part. But, I always thought, and this is important, business creating a business keeping a business viable and upscaling it to whatever, whatever heights, IPO, whatever. There are many, many
Yeah.
levels, and it's an unbelievably specialized task, and it's not for the faint-hearted. You need a really high pain threshold, as well as being multi-skilled and have a great aptitude. I mean, that's there's so much more than that. But if you're there in the seat after 2 years, Gavin, then you've really earned it. This is what I say, because you're not there by chance. And you see, a lot of people actually, they they say, I have a great idea. I'd love to start a business. I mean, that's great. There's no reason why they shouldn't do that and more. But really what they find is that you don't really choose a business. What I've learned, a business chooses you, because if you're still sitting there after 2-3 years, then you've earned your seat and you really are hardened in the ways of the world. And in a sense, this is where you really start to get traction. It's like there's a rite of passage here as a human being in business that is not for the faint-hearted. I mean, I'm sure you get that.
Yeah, no,
I'm
100%.
sure you understand that.
I work in talent acquisition recruitment. That's what I've done for 13, 14 years. I didn't go to college and go, that's what I want to do. I was called in, and it's something I enjoy doing. And it's back to something you said earlier around problem solving. I listened, there's a business called Intercom here in Ireland. Des Traynor spoke at a conference I had before, and he said, you don't have a product if it's not solving a problem. And that stuck with me hand over fist for the last while. So anything I think about these days is, what problem are you trying to solve? And that makes you better at your job. So moving on, the book, your biography, the Monkey Puzzle Tree, it's out in a couple of weeks. I obviously read a couple of the extracts in the Sunday World there a couple of weeks ago. And you have a feature film coming out, and there's a lot more happening. How did that all come about?
It's a big deal, Gavin. It really is. And even that's a real journey. It's an unbelievable journey. But it kind of keys into what we do in business and in a visionary sense. Because I see this years ago. And of course, I was nowhere close to that. The work behind it is immense. It really is. But I saw that clearly. We're talking 3 years, 4 years back. So this is and I kept going. We're in a wonderful place now. But there was many learnings, many rivers to cross. Fences to jump.
Yeah.
Along the way there for this, right? But it just goes to show that when you have something that's pure and and you can see it, and you work diligently towards it, and you really, really go for it. Success, I've always understood for many people, sometimes it's inches away. To them in their head, they can, the little green shoots can just be under the surface and they're just about to come up. But because they may have slogged, flat out for maybe 18 months, 2 years, and they really feel that there's no more in the tank, really, they don't know how close they are. Even people who are doing so well, sometimes it's like 1 to the left, 2 to the right, 4 to the left. It's really that close with business, especially with people who know business. It's a constant. So
it's actually something that come back to that course. It was when the lecturer said, take a step back from your business and like come off the dance floor or take a helicopter view, all the buzzwords you want to talk about, but take that moment to kind of step back and go, okay, where are we? We talked just before this about running. I use that to clear my head and to think about where I am and what I want to do. I do think a lot of people forget that in their worlds where, everybody is so involved. In this last 10 weeks might have been, sometimes people might have come up with life-changing ambitions after this, but it does take a bit of effort to take a step back.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like the monkey puzzle tree. The monkey puzzle tree for the viewers, listeners out there. It's a very emotive tale about my life,
Yeah.
which, which goes all the way through. It's very well written. And I was at a stage in my life where I really produced the goods as a writer. It's a very emotional, a very real
Mm.
tale. It's very well put together, and it goes to very, very kind of specialist, esoteric areas where a lot of people haven't been. So it's very informative. I'm talking about high security prisons as a category A inmate,
Mm.
which I went through. All the feelings of that, all the loss, the guilt, the shame, the pain of it, Gavin. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is all there. It's very relevant. It's a full story. But for me, the beautiful parts is how I unraveled that, how I got over the challenges, how I learned to uncode the adversity, find the courage, within myself, to go forward, even in the worst of times. And, what I used to do that, the people I met, the experiences I had. And of course, I mean, I'm privileged enough now. It took me all my life pretty much to have wonderful people in my life, really wonderful people who see me, who actually see me,
Yeah.
see me, and it's really interesting. Someone said to me the other day, Gavin, they said, Stephen, do you know what? If people don't actually see you, actually see you, you don't exist. I said, wow. I said, that's very profound. But I said, you know what? You're so right. It's true.
Yeah. No,
People
definitely.
can see you, say, hi, how are you doing in the morning? Or, have an exchange of business with you. But really, in a sense, there are different degrees of this. And some people can see us, but they don't see us at all. Now, really, if they don't see us, in a sense, we don't really exist, do
Yeah.
we?
Yeah, and that comes back to the listening side of things. If we all throw away the comments of how are you, how's things? That's great. All right, I have to run. You're just paying that lip service to people. It's and there was we did a mental health talk in Dublin beforehand, and one of the speakers, a guy called Dr. Damien Clark, was at it, and he said, actually ask people how they are, and that makes people feel a lot better, and that will probably come back tying into being seen as well. A lot of people, especially in busy cities, London, Dublin, you're in such a rush to get places. And when you do meet people, or even in a business context, you can say, how's things actually, remember if they have a family, remember the little points that even in your own working environment. I always find that really important. And if somebody reverts back to me and say, how are your kids? It's like, okay, wow, they actually listened.
Yeah, there's a real, this is another very, very important point. There's a real kind of development to this because, it is about your connection with people, like your real connection. We have businesses where we have funnels and we do all that stuff, marketing, and we're automated and all that. But this is just the way that it is, the way a good business runs, and our systems work well, and they do what they do, and all this. But really, most of the main best clients I have, we only pick certain ones now, and they are all due to to my and their ability to connect in a really wonderful way and see the value that we can add to each other, have that respect for one another as human beings, and then really go for whatever project it is. And some of these are wonderful people. I have to say, and it really is on the relationship. Yes, there's all the providence of work behind this, obviously,
Yeah.
but when it comes to the actionable, real stuff, it's about this.
Yeah.
Me and
100%.
you here, and doing the do and talking the talk and pushing and pulling, and and finding each other out in a really in a really wonderful way. We say, yeah, I can work with this.
Yeah, no, and it comes back then, yeah, other things around, I'd say, your ethical choices. Do you believe in that business? Is that the right business for you to work with? And we can all work with businesses, but do we actually want to work with them, and that type of thing? It's, what's their purpose? I look at that now more than ever. What's their culture? What's their purpose? Who are they? What they're trying to sell? There's lots in it. there's so much within the who you do business with is really important, especially how you want to feel after your day's work.
Yeah, these are real, these are real things that we learn on the way through, Kevin. And I'm sure people, it's they become very important, because you learn that time is the most precious commodity.
Yeah.
It's not actually what other people think. And you prize it very, very carefully towards the later part of your journey.
I just had my birthday, so yeah, time runs out very quickly.
Yeah, I was trying to find the right words there.
So I won't take much more of your time up. Just little things that I was reading. Your humanity awards that you got. How did that come about? You've kind of the ambassador for Peace Award and the Sunhak Peace Prize. There was so much more in there that I just wasn't expecting when I kind of reached out to you first.
I was lucky enough. When I transformed my life, Gavin, as I am today, I was really driven to make a difference, and I really went with that. There was a real drive in me to actively change things for the better, and improve as many people's lives as possible. And I didn't shy away from that. I went into many prisons. I've done talks, both men and women's prisons. I actively fought a lot of things that was very, 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 very unhealthy. I took a stand about that, and I through my work in the pharmaceutical industry, we have a product there. It was an R&D for 8 years. It's in the open wound industry. It's unbelievably innovative. It'll save hundreds of thousands of lives. And work I'd done there, and that became and is at governmental level now. With governments and presidents around the world, especially in Africa. When I'd done a lot of talks, I'm involved in a lot of humanitarian stuff, and I met a lot of people on that circuit who are doing a lot of wonderful initiatives, getting medicines out to deprived areas and India, all kinds of things, and you find yourself really seeing so much about the world, and saying, look, for me, it makes my life worth living, Gavin. If even what I can do, something. So, I always knew that. So of course I got on with that. I still do now, and we're involved in a lot of things. So I was given, I was awarded an Ambassador of Peace Award by the Secretary General of the Universal Peace Federation, but I was also nominated for the Sunhak International Peace Prize. That's a big deal. That was a big deal, and very humbling.
It's certainly paying it forward. Anyway, if that's the if that's way of looking at it, it's great to see. Just rounding off a couple of things. We'll come back to your book just at the end. The next kind of 6 months for businesses are going to be, and for leaders are going to be really important. What would you say fundamentally businesses or leaders should be doing now to kind of be ready for 2021, or even to close off the year in a positive manner?
I'm sure many of them know, being there anyway, leaders, but it's they really need, if they haven't already, to restructure, but in an outward facing way that kind of jumps a good section of 6-9 months as we're going in here now, and they need to integrate evergreen systems into that, in the sense, a lot of online stuff that can run regardless. So, so their staff and their services and their products, and their initiatives can still produce and run without any more aggravation. This has been the thing, because there, only there really is a stability of sorts because there is going to be a balancing period here, especially in the financial arena, which is, is going to be up and down a bit. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but again, what I would suggest is it's about thinking out of the box, preparing for this stuff, and being ahead of the game. So when the avalanche comes, then you knew it was there anyway, and you've kind of, you've got your stuff together. Those who are just sitting and waiting for more information, or I'm not sure, or will do something down the road, I would strongly invite them to have a look at their strategy there and be more aggressive towards protective frameworks for them and their business.
And would that be something like doing nearly like a review of your leadership team, seeing if people are in the right place, looking at mindsets of people there? Are they, is it now the right time to have a closed mindset leadership team, or do you need an innovator coming in, or would that be or would you just look at the business as whole and say, let's get to that in 21?
We're working with a lot of businesses now, and we do this now. Businesses are always at different stages of development, right? They're like people, really. But one of the things is, a lot of businesses, really, we can't really say until we look, because it's a very bespoke thing where a business is, especially one that's been trading and has infiltrated and molded itself into a niche within a integrated market. So it's a very finite kind of ingredients that they've shaped there that's working for them. So we really have to, look at that. We're very good at it, but in some instances they're rebranding completely. Certainly their message is changing, and their mission statement. Do you know what I mean? Their mission statements are changing. Their audiences, and their target avatars and stuff like that, they're also changing. You see something like this, as you know, Gavin, has the power to really make or break a business. Just
Yep.
one of these things alone, if it's not managed constructively. So when you get a lot of little things like this together, you really need to have a look at that, especially where, you have a unprecedented situation here that no one can really read, because it's completely unprecedented. But here we are nevertheless. So it is about planning, and it is about protective frameworks to get us through that. Is the mind of what I would certainly suggest. This is what we're doing. So it's kind of what we do for businesses. I mean, we always start where the money is. We need to see where the money is, because it's a business.
Yeah.
How are you monetizing it? Where are you losing money? How can we enhance that? How can we upscale that? Where have you got a ball and chain unnecessarily around your feet here that you're dragging with you, right? This kind of stuff. So, we narrow and we slimline stuff, but, it's kind of a good strategy is to, with your evergreen systems that you get up, you can always be monetizing stuff to pay the bills, downloadables. You can be doing loads of different stuff. You can be marketing to, to pitch to certain clients, which can keep your business viable while you have another part of the business. Maybe you're reconstructing again. So this is a good idea. Then you have a stability anyway. At least everything hasn't stopped, or you're having to restructure everything again.
Yeah, 100%. We'll close on this, because I'm conscious of taking up loads of your time.
That's okay.
Your autobiography, the Monkey Puzzle Tree. When's it out, and how can you get it?
It's out in 7 weeks. I mean, if people go to the website now, it's www.stephen.gillen.com. They can go in there now. They can pre-order it. For the people who go in there now and pre-order, and there are a lot that they're going to be the first ones to get it in a digital form. And we're going to go through all them people, and some of them are going to get tickets to get access behind the scenes when we film the movie. So because of this COVID-19 thing again, it's going in the shops, of course. How long is a bit of string? What the book trade is doing now anyway. I had a meeting this morning with my publisher. Is there's a lot more traffic for books,
Yeah.
but they're using the websites now anyway a lot more because of the situation. So if people want a book, Gavin, they'll search and they'll go and they'll get it. So this is a good way to get it, but it will be out in 7 weeks. You can pre-order it now straight away, and if they go into my website, there's loads of free content in there. There's loads of interviews. There's loads of cool stuff, and we get to know each other through that route. But there's going to be a lot of wonderful stuff coming out in the next little while. So I'm sure we'll talk again. The papers in Ireland are certainly going to be doing some more articles.
Brilliant. No, thanks a mil for your time today, Stephen. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Gavin. Thanks for having us. Thank you.